Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with a new recording on Supraphon of the complete Dvořák trios. Now, this came as something of a surprise, I have to confess, because Supraphon already has two sets of the Dvořák piano trios, which are both very good, and one of them is just amazingly outstanding. I have it. It's actually right here. There it is. It's this one. The complete piano trios with the Suk trio. This is the analog version. It was available also as a digital recording on Denon Supraphon. And maybe they own the rights to the digital one and Supraphon has the analog one. I don't know. It doesn't make any difference because it's absolutely splendid. This was recorded in 1979. 78 through 79, 77, 78, and released in 79. The performances are as great as they could possibly be. The music is unbelievable. It's magnificent. Of course, Dvořák wrote two late trios, the trio in F minor, which is simply the greatest piano trio in the second half of the 19th century, and the Donkey trio, which is simply the greatest other piano trio in the second half of the 19th century. Extraordinary works and totally contrasted. One of them is pure Slavic nationalist fun and games. It's amazing. And the first one, the F minor trio, is Dvořák in his most classical Brahmsian, but sort of like better mode because the tunes are just unbelievably incredible. Let me put this away. So yeah, I mean, the Dvořák trios are great. And the last two are so fantastic that we have a tendency to ignore the first two, which is a shame because they're very, very good works. I mean, they're not that early. They're opus 21 and 26. They're perfectly sensible, solid, beautifully melodic Dvořákian trios. They're great. I love them. I love them both, especially the G minor. The second one, it's gorgeous, but the scherzo, the first one, is like, they're just good chamber music. Now, Supraphon, as I said, has made a living recording Dvořák, Jarůšek, Martin. Unfortunately, Czech music is full of genius composers, and they can record Czech music and re-record Czech music endlessly, and that's fine with me. However, I have to make the comparisons. I just have to make the comparisons. That is my job. And these latest performances are not as good as the Suk trio. And the previous one, I think, was the Guarnieri trio, right? Which were also very, very, very good. The problem with these performances, and it's not huge. I mean, look, these are really, really accomplished players. It's Boris Giltburg, piano, Peter Jarůšek, cello, and Veronika Jarůškova, violin. And they're excellent, excellent players. I mean, their intonation is beautiful. They're stylish. They phrase, they shape things. But, as always in these cases, it's a game of comparisons. You've got to decide how many versions of the Dvořák trios you want. And there's not just the Suk trio. There's the Beaux-Arts trio. There's Trio Wanderer that did a couple of them. There are plenty. The last two trios, we are spoiled for choice. And the first two, not so much. You usually have to get the complete sets. But there's the Beaux-Arts trio. It's just terrific. Look, the playing here is just a little bit stiff and a little bit, I won't say inhibited, but its range is narrow compared to these other guys. I mean, they don't seem to have the same level of romantic passion. I mean, the beginning of the F minor trio, for example, which has that ya da da da, ya da 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 da, ba da 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 da, this gorgeous tune, and then this huge crescendo that just explodes. Giltburg is a bit straight-laced. I actually think, frankly, that Giltburg is the problem here, not so much the other two players, but he has to set the pace and sort of keep the rhythm going. And there's something that just strikes me as stiff in the way he plays it. Maybe it's partly a function of the recording too. I don't know. The sonics are quite good. The balances are good, but in the scherzo of the F minor trio, which is cha 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 yam bum ba da 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 da, there's a lack of lightness. There's a stiffness to the way he phrases it. In the Donkey trio, you can really go crazy because it's stylized folk music. First of all, stylized folk dance music, and The dance in question involves extremes from hysterical lament to giddy hysterical joy. It turns on a dime. And they do those things. They do those things. But, like I keep saying, somehow it seems studied. There's a lack of spontaneity, and it's a very difficult quality to describe in words, quite frankly. I mean, I can't do it measure by measure. The first two trios, it's less in evidence because they are less personal in a sense. They're more exemplars of the classical chamber music tradition with Dvořák's usual fund of melody, of course. But from a formal point of view and an expressive point of view, they're not as open-heartedly expansive as the last two trios. So in those cases, that element of restraint that I hear isn't so noticeable. It doesn't really get in the way. But in the last two trios, which have been played to death by every great trio that ever existed, yeah, you hear it. And so while I wouldn't say that there's anything terribly wrong here, they're simply not as good as performances as the available competition, including on Supraphon. And that's just the way it goes. I wish it weren't so. I wish I could say, oh, they're right up there with the Suk Trio, but they're not. It's that simple. So keep on listening, friends. Thanks for joining me. Take care.